Let's get this over with.
It's been another week, which means another week of Joe Biden slurring, mispronouncing names, and just being confused as always. We're going to start these resident-in-chief highlights off with him struggling to stand at the top of the short staircase in Air Force One and attempting to make a joke about Donald Trump.
Seriously, just like they did January 6th. The guy is not a Democrat with a small d.
Here he is in Wisconsin spouting off the usual saving democracy narrative, as well apparently saying that he would not like the Wisconsin incumbent, which is a Democrat, to win the Senate race coming up.
And look, I was going to hush up, as my grandfather would say. Hush up. But one of the things that I think, and I'll be very serious for just 1 second and stop and answer any questions you have, or just walk around and meet each one individually. I really think democracy is at stake here. With a little bit of luck, and you all making sure that we change things here in Wisconsin as well. You got some senators I'd like to see change too.
Here he's going to tell a story about a teacher that he claimed he had that got drafted by the Green Bay Packers, despite there being no evidence that this ever happened.
I went to a Catholic high school in Delaware, taught by the Norbertine priest from St. Norbert's College. A little team called Green Bay. Now, here's the deal. We were the only high school in Delaware that overwhelmingly rooted for Green Bay. Not a joke, I'll tell you why. Every single Sunday. Not only did they have great teams at the time, we still do, but not only that, my theology professor at the Catholic school I went to was a guy named Riley, last name, and he had been drafted by the Green Bay Packers, and he decided to become a priest before that, so he didn't go. But every single solitary Monday that Green Bay won, we got the last period of the day off. Now, we Catholics call that indirect bribery, but it worked.
He did an event on Cinco de Mayo where he claimed that because of him, Hispanic people now have homes that are worth just as much as wealthy people. And then he went on to get people's names completely wrong and say again that they have beat Big Pharma.
He wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. He says there's a lot we can do in terms of cutting. I got one really serious idea how to cut. A candidate. Anyway, on Friday, I had the honor of bestowing our nation's highest civilian awards on 19 incredible people. 2 trailblazing Hispanic Americans as well. Teresa Romeo, the first Latina to lead the National Union, a national union, the American Farm Workers. And if you look inside the door here, I got only a few busts in there, and one of them is of Cesar Chavez, who started the whole deal. And Dr. Elaine Ochoa, the first Latina to travel to space. I'm glad she decided to come home. Look, we have your backs, and you've had ours. In March, in Nevada, I invited the most ambitious housing plan for decades to come into being. For example, it boosts construction and rental units and lowers rent. To crack down on discrimination by home appraisers, so Latino homes are finally valued as fairly as they were when built by wealthy families. Folks, look, we're in a situation where, for lower costs across the board, we finally beat Big Pharma. Big Pharma. The Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers to ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated. And you're the future of our nation. Everybody says, why I've always been so fundamentally focused on Latinos. Simple proposition. You make up 28% of the students in America. Think about it. 28%. of all the students in high school and grade school in America are Latino. And I want to tell you, the idea we're not going to pay attention is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Look, we have your backs, and you've had ours. Can you imagine a kid 2 years old saying, Mom, don't take me across the Rio Grande, it's against the law. Give me a break. These have been model citizens.
The Hispanic community is part of the future of America. 28 out of every 100 students in school speak Spanish. 28. The idea we're going to ignore that? That's our future.
Next, we have some typical Biden slurring and some serious trouble with the teleprompter.
There's always have been compelling value sets to visions of America. One of those value sets is revenge and retribution. We're also joined by Army's football's biggest fans, Bill and Steve of the radio show Crawdads Countdown to Kickoff. And Liz Schuller, President of LCA, I thank you for all you do for the benefit of the American Union movement.
And he claimed that he traveled the world with the creators of AI.
I've gone around the world, literally, not figuratively, meeting with the leading architects of AI.
He met with the WNBA champions at the White House, where he asked to act like he cares about women's basketball. Then they celebrated about Kamala Harris's race.
Today, the Senate counts 25 women among its numbers. And the second most powerful person in the world is not just a woman, but a woman of color.
Put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play. Special thanks to the members of the administration, including Acting Labor Secretary Julie Su, and above all, by the way, she was a center. No, I'm not.
Then he broke out one of his favorite things to do, which is to tell people not to jump when they're above him. I don't think anyone knows why he does this or why he thinks it's funny, but he continuously does it, as shown by this next clip.
Don't jump. 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 Don't jump.
At the end of the week, he headed out to his beach house in Delaware, which he pretty much does every weekend at this point. Meanwhile, Donald Trump held an event in New Jersey, and this is what the crowd looked like even before he showed up.
Well, if your general admissions, you have to go through.
He also did an interview on CNN, which I broke down earlier in the week, and here's that breakdown.
Why should people here believe that you will succeed at creating jobs where Trump failed?
He's never succeeded in creating jobs, and I've never failed. I've created over 15 million jobs since I've been president. 15 million in three and three-quarters years.
First and foremost, he did not create anything. Anytime a politician says that they created jobs, you should be highly skeptical of that. I know it sounds very simple, but if there's any leftists that are watching this, politicians do not create jobs, and any job they actually do create required money that you took from the private sector or printed out of nowhere in order to create those jobs. As far as the 15 million jobs that he keeps mentioning in interviews and speeches, what the administration is doing is taking credit for jobs that simply just came back after lockdowns and all of the other things related to COVID were lifted. Not to mention, if the economy was anywhere near as good as he claims it is, he wouldn't have poll numbers like this.
A poll this week shows Americans trust Mr. Trump over the president on the economy and inflation by double digits.
I look at it from a position, not being facetious, from a Scranton perspective. He looks at it from a Mar-a-Lago perspective. He wants to give more significant tax cuts to the super wealthy. You know, we got 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what their average federal tax is? 8.3%. You talks about if I want to raise it to 25%, that would raise $40 billion, $400 billion over 10 years. We could further reduce the deficit, which I've been able to reduce. I mean, it's just a completely different perspective on how we should proceed.
Again, he's just not telling the truth here. The federal deficit has not been reduced.
The gap between what the government spends and what it earns widened to $1.7 trillion in the fiscal year that ended last month.
Monthly budget deficit for the United States for December of 2023 was $129 billion. That's $44 billion higher than it was a year ago.
When you talk about the economy, of course, it is by far the most important issue for voters. It's also true right now, Mr. President, that voters by a wide margin trust Trump more on the economy. They say that in polls. And part of the reason for that may be the numbers. And you're aware of many of these, of course. The cost of buying a home in the United States is double what it was when you look at your monthly costs from before the pandemic. Real income, when you account for inflation, is actually down since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. Look at the Michigan survey. For 65% of the American people think they're in good shape economically. They think the nation's not in good shape, but they're personally in good shape.
Basically, the tale he's trying to spin here is that people think their personal situation financially is great, but somehow at the same time, the financial situation of the country is in bad shape. Which, by the way, he would also be responsible for the financial situation of the country as a whole. Regardless, you can find poll after poll that say things like this.
While 2/3 of Americans say they're living paycheck to paycheck.
The polling data has been wrong all along. You know, how many, you guys do a poll at CNN, how many folks you have to call to get one response? The idea that we're in a situation where things are so bad, the folks that, I mean, we've created more jobs. We're in a situation where people have access to good paying jobs. And the last I saw, the combination of the inflation, the cost of inflation, all those things, that's really worrisome to people with good reason. That's why I'm working very hard to bring the cost of rentals down, to increase the number of homes that are available.
A new survey finds Americans aren't feeling optimistic about housing costs. According to the New York Fed, those surveys think mortgage interest rates could go as high as 8.7% a year from now. Rates are currently sitting around 7.5%. About 75% of renters said obtaining a mortgage would be somewhat very difficult.
No president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office. 9%. But look, people have a right to be concerned. Ordinary people, the idea that you bounce a check and you get a $30 fee for bouncing the check might change that. You can't charge more than $8 for that. Or your credit card, your late payment, $35. I mean, there's corporate greed going on out there, and it's got to be dealt with.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. It's the corporation's fault that inflation went out of control. Definitely not government spending. Now, if you're dumb enough to believe that, I can't really help you, but here's some actual reporting, a rare thing, coming from ABC about this interview.
Inflation was actually 1.4% when Biden was sworn in, peaking at 9.1% in June 2022. It has since come down to 3.5%, preventing a further drop. Housing costs. In New York City, one survey found rent is rising 7 times faster than wages. In California, a condo in West Hollywood just sold for a record-smashing $24 million. Food costs also playing a role. Grocery prices are up 26% since 2019. And fast food prices are up 33%.
I said to Bibi, don't make the same mistake we made in America. We wanted to get bin Laden, and we'll help you get Sinwar. But we went into Afghanistan. It made sense to go get bin Laden. Made no sense to try to unify Afghanistan.
This is some more revisionist history from Biden. He was actually against going and getting bin Laden at the time. Here he is talking about it.
And we had to make a decision. The president, he went around the table with all the senior people, including the chiefs of staff. And he said, I have to make this decision. What is your opinion? He started with the National Security Advisor, the Secretary of State, and he ended with me. Every single person in that room hedged their bet, except Leon Panetta. Leon said go. Everyone else said 49, 51, got to me and he said, Joe, what do you think? And I said, you know, I didn't know we had so many economists around the table. I said, we owe the man a direct answer. Mr. President, my suggestion is don't go.
I get instructions from my wife